Hey everybody, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the rise of the microbrands.
Lunch with Norm.
Okay, so for today, we are going to be talking about a subject that's usually not covered, and I'm going to be bringing on Michelle Love from EM Ford to talk about the importance of Ecom insurance, all the ins and outs and everything in between. So, Kelsey, where are you, sir?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Almost didn't make my own show.
I know, I noticed that.
Yeah.
I almost went into the fetal position.
Oh, did you? Oh, very good. I would like to see that.
But yeah, so welcome everyone. Welcome to the show. First off, hit those or smash those like buttons, ring those bells. Yeah, get out, share this to your friends, your family, everyone in between. And join the Beard Nation. That is our Facebook group. You can find it with Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and Ecommerce Collective. Oh, we also are on a podcast, a second podcast that just came out from the AM/PM crew over there. So if you want to check out some more Kelsey and Norm podcast action, go and check that out.
Oh, did that come out?
Yeah, that came out today. So
very good.
Thursday. So yeah, that's out for everyone to see.
See how Kelsey abuses me?
That's right. And yeah, we have our clubhouse today too. So that's at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. We have the link in the Facebook group as well, but I'll also post it here too. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome Marina, Manny. Hello, hello. Happy Monday, Fatiha. And welcome Mark. You say, oh, you just watched the podcast. Good stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm good to go if you are.
I am good to go. All right. So yeah, I'd like to see how Kelsey or how they edited the podcast and made Kelsey look so good and me so bad. But okay. So if you have any comments or questions, just shoot them over to the right-hand side. We'll get back to you. Hopefully we can answer all the questions today. And sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Hello, Michelle.
Hey, Norm.
I've been seeing a lot of you lately.
You have. Yeah. We've had several conversations and several face-to-face meetings. So
yeah, it's great.
Via technology, of course. So yeah, it's been good.
So before we get into everything, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Well, I have an accounting degree, and my husband's a CPA, so I decided to skip all that boring accounting and went into insurance instead. So I've been a commercial insurance agent for 27 years, and always kind of piddled with eBay and different things over the last 20 years or so. But about 5 years ago, my daughter, who was in high school at the time, she and I started our Amazon business, doing private label, kind of paper party goods type thing. And so we just started doing that as something. I wanted to teach her something about business. And just in my connections and going to different meetings across the country and learning about how to do it the right way, people learned that I actually sell insurance and that there was a need for somebody that knows e-commerce and knows insurance. And as all that developed, I started specializing in e-commerce insurance. So that's really all I specialize in now. Still have my normal book of business that I take care of on for accounting or for insurance needs, but we really we've developed a complete e-commerce division within our office. We have about 35 employees at our office here in Owensboro, Kentucky, and we've been around for 95 years. Our agency has. I haven't. I've just about had. But our agency's been around for 95 years and well respected, and just with the connections I've made in my career with insurance, I have, I have some options that I've put together for e-commerce sellers that maybe other agents can't, because of my I guess experience and history with the insurance industry. So
Okay. Kels, is there something wrong with my mic?
Yeah, you could just hear some breathing during it. I think the mic volume was up a little bit, so I just muted it when Michelle was talking.
Oh, geez, I heard that, and I thought that was probably a dog breathing or snoring in the background.
No, I think that was you.
That was me? Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't know how, but it looks like. How's my mic volume now? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah? How about if I turn it down? It still looks like it's up about a lot. Okay, well, we'll continue until if anybody's listening and they think my mic level is too low or too high, just let us know. All right, so let's get into this. So I met you at the very first Prosper show, and you were talking about Ecom insurance back then. And I thought it was pretty impressive because you're going through all the ins and outs. And when everybody was just talking or thinking about either general liability or product liability, and you kind of expanded out on that. So why don't we start by just talking about the basics? Oh, no, let's start by talking about what's really happening in Amazon right now. I think that's probably the most important thing. So why don't we get into that? What's Amazon doing right now?
Well, finally, after my 5 years of doing this, they have begun to send out notices requiring, well, it's always been in your terms of service. So when you signed up, it's always been there. But, the terms of service is 37 pages or whatever it is. So, you don't read everything. But you've always been required to carry insurance, especially for the pro sellers. But last month, February 1st, they started sending out notices and requesting your proof of insurance or certificate of insurance that shows you have coverage. And if you didn't provide that, they were suspending you. So, it's something that has always been there that's supposed to have had in place, but now they're actually enforcing it, which is something that I've been expecting for years. But it's just come to fruition. They've had some pretty bad lawsuits that they've been dragged into from third-party sellers, and now they're starting to actually check on people, which is good and bad. I mean, it's good because you should carry the insurance. It might be a cost that you maybe didn't have budgeted for, but it's in most cases not horribly expensive. But it also will weed out some of those unscrupulous type sellers, the hijackers, those sorts of things. Hopefully that's, for all of us that actually sell on any e-commerce platform, this will help us, I believe.
So who needs insurance on Amazon?
Everyone. You can be sued for anything. And in most cases, thankfully, there's not much as far as a settle, or they may get little, if any, type of settlement. But in most cases, your expense is really your legal fees to fight. And all these policies cover that. And if nothing else, you have that for any type of frivolous, claim that comes against you, that your product hurt somebody or hurt somebody's property. If it caused a fire, or if a piece came off and a child choked on it, for example, you're going to have a tremendous amount of lawsuit or legal fees, and this policy will actually help you cover those.
So all these, when you're talking about insurance in general, what's the minimum insurance somebody should have? What is Amazon asking the minimum insurance should be?
Yeah. So if you're a professional seller, so if you're paying the $39.99 a month, the minimum, which is required no matter your limit of sales or anything like that, is 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate. And the 2 million aggregate is basically 2 $1 million claims in any policy year, or 4 $500,000 claims. So it's basically, a doubling always there. So the $1 million general liability and product liability coverage is what Amazon requires. They also require to be named as an additional insured on the policy. And what that means is, in the event that there is a lawsuit, you know, Joe over here is suing you for product malfunction, and they're going to name you and Amazon. So basically, the expense for Amazon comes under your policy, not Amazon's. And that's where it basically is what we call risk transfer. And that's key for Amazon, so they can, it keeps their insurance premiums a little lower.
All right. So I've talked to a lot of Amazon sellers that don't have insurance. They won't admit it, but they don't have insurance. And so they're basically, and I'm not talking about huge brands, I'm talking about people that are small to intermediate type sellers that are going out there, and they're crossing their fingers that something will never happen, right? I don't like playing that game. But it's usually, not when, but or not if, but when. So something will come down at some point. What happens if somebody doesn't have insurance and all of a sudden you're getting sued? Like, let's say you have a brand, it might be worth $100,000. Okay, so over a period of a year, you're selling $10,000 a month. You got $120,000 in sales, and you've decided not to get insurance. You got an insurance claim or somebody that's going to go and sue you. Do you just wrap up your business? I mean, is that what happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's you definitely see that, and of course, if it goes to court, then you can have judgments against you, and they can take your assets. And I know there are legal. I'm not an attorney and don't pretend to be, but there are some protections that can be given by how you're situated as far as a legal entity. But in most cases, it doesn't give you full protection. The only way you get that full protection is with an insurance policy.
Okay, so, and I've been asked this, and we're not talking any legal advice here, just kind of in general, two friends talking. But can a person, and I've heard different stories here. So you have an LLC, you have a C Corp, you have something separating you, okay? And you don't have that insurance. Because you don't have that insurance, could somebody come after you personally?
I believe they can. I mean, that's my understanding. Again, not not a legal person here.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, you're going to have legal expenses.
Definitely.
To fight them off, and there's no, you're going to be out that expense. And again, that's where a lot of the benefits of an insurance policy comes into play, is to help you with your legal expenses. So there, again, I don't know all the legal on it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So, but the bigger thing is, it is required by Amazon, and they can suspend you, and we all know how that goes. So you don't want to be suspended, for sure.
Right. And when you do get, Amazon right now is sending out compliance letters. What's that deal? You get the letter, or you get the email. It says that you have to provide a letter of compliance. How long is that process?
They give you 30 days. And if you don't provide the proof of insurance or certificate of insurance within that 30 days, they suspend you.
Right. And within that time period, let's say day one, you go out and you try to find somebody who's going to insure you within that 30 days. They're not looking to make sure that you've been insured prior to the 30 days. It's the 30 days forward. Is that correct?
Well, the way that they, it's kind of interesting, and I'm actually trying to educate Amazon a little bit on this. I've had some conversations with their risk management team in this regard, but they want, for example, I have an account that got the letter. They have had insurance, continuously for 2 or 3 years. They got the letter in February, but their policy renews in June. And Amazon wanted a 1-year proof of insurance from February on. We can't do that because the contract insurance is a contract, and the contract is only good through June, and then it renews in June for another year. So I'm trying to, they basically, we provided a certificate from June of last year to June of this year, and that was not acceptable for Amazon. So they want to see 1 year going forward from the date of the letter. So, which is not exactly how insurance works. So it's a learning, maybe some learning curve on Amazon's part, and I think that that will get tweaked a little bit in the future. But if you have been in compliance all along, then your policy dates are going to be probably 99% not the date that you get the notice from Amazon requiring coverage. So
Right.
it's not going to be for 1 year from that date. If you have skirted the system and not carried insurance prior to getting the letter, then we place the insurance and you're good for a year, and then it renews, and just we provide you that certificate of insurance every year at renewal, and then you provide that to Amazon.
Okay. So let's get into the different types of insurance.
Okay.
All right. Private label sellers. You're jumping into business for the first time. What type of insurance would you be looking at?
Yeah, if you're, you definitely need the general and product liability coverage, which in most cases we provide on one policy. So it's usually a combined policy.
Okay. Explain the difference between general and product.
Yeah. So general liability is, and this may not apply, but the policies are written to be all inclusive, and you can't like pick and choose. So the portion that relates to the general liability is if you have maybe a brick and mortar store, or you have a home office, you have a leased warehouse, maybe a storage unit, anything like that it's more of your like slip and fall type coverage. It could be slander, libel, those sorts of coverages. It's more of what we consider premises liability. So if maybe you do have a brick and mortar store, and somebody, or an office, for example, and somebody comes on your property and they slip and fall, then the coverage is there for that. Then the product liability portion is for damage to somebody, your product damages somebody's property or harms, it's damage to property or injury to persons. So, it's two components that make up the liability portion.
Okay. Now, the expense of, I know this is how long is a piece of string? What kind of expense is associated with general and or product? There's a big difference.
Big difference. Well, there's a big range. You have, for example, and I don't ever mind sharing what we do, because my private label brand is very small, and my daughter now is graduate college and doesn't help with it much. And I've been so busy writing the insurance, I just kind of keep it open, and eventually she'll take it back over. But, we do paper goods. So it's very, very low risk, and it's private label. So my insurance runs, $700 a year. And it does vary, based on your sales volume. So if when we're running, lower sales volume than most. So if you have, for example, you do supplements, or you do beauty, ingestibles, which are really hard to handle or find coverage for, baby, pets, those sorts of higher risk type items, you're looking at a much higher rate to begin with. And then dependent upon your sales volume, it goes up the higher sales you have, because you have more risk out there. But, if you're doing, the classic garlic press type product that's not ingestible, not used for babies or pets, anything on or in the body, you're looking at still in that low rate risk because I can put you with a more preferred company versus having to go to a high risk company, which the rates are higher. So it really, and it's not a great answer, but it really is just across the board. Just think if you have a lower risk product with lower sales, that's the lowest premium versus highest risk, high sales, and then anywhere in the middle.
And then they get reviewed, like product liability insurance is reviewed every year. Is that correct?
It
Based
is.
on your sales?
It is. It can be. There is a condition within every liability policy that it can be audited every year. And on my policy never gets audited because it's so low premium. It's not worth the company's time to audit it. Anything in the high risk categories gets audited each year. And that's good and bad. I mean, you could estimate high and your business plan says you intend to make $1 million this year, but you really, COVID hit and you only made 500,000. You pay a premium on $1 million and you only did 500, so you would get a refund for the difference. So it works in the opposite way as well. If you estimate low and then have much higher sales, that you have to provide proof from your sales reports, those sorts of 1099s, those sorts of things, then you pay an additional premium. It's just like a workers' comp policy, and if people have had any work comp policies in the past, those are audited each year as well. And it's good and bad. It depends on where you are. The goal is to estimate as close to your actual as you can get, so you don't have those big fluctuations.
Very good. Now, if you're selling on other platforms, let's say you're in pets and you go over to Chewy, or if you go over to Walmart, not all insurance requirements are the same. I know Chewy's double what Amazon asks for.
Right.
And, how do you find out? I guess you just ask, right? You just go to each platform and ask, what are your insurance requirements?
Right. And I will say that Chewy and Walmart.com in particular, both of those have been way ahead of Amazon in policing the insurance. So, and they both have much higher requirements. You're right. Walmart starts at 2 million, goes to 5. They have 3 categories: 2, 5, and 10. And they have a list on their website that provides what category and what products go in which category. So I'm familiar with those and I know what they require. So within the application process that you do with us, I know if you say I'm selling on Chewy as well, then I know I need to at least add an umbrella to get you to that 2 million limit. And that way you are in compliance with Chewy. I'm working on an account right now that they need the 10 million with Walmart. Gets a little harder when you're dealing with, ingestibles or baby or pet things and need a 10 million limit because it takes some time to get that placed. It's like a puzzle. I have to find all the different pieces to get to that high of a limit. But it's cost of doing business, and you have to comply with those platforms. I will also say that when I write the insurance, it's good for no matter what platform you're on. If you're doing your own Shopify or you're doing a brick and mortar, even if you have your own, maybe you go to trade shows or you go to, you have your own website that you fulfill orders on your own, the insurance follows you. It's not specific to Amazon. So if you venture out and do other platforms, it follows you. We just may need to add additional layers of $1 million limits to comply with whichever platform that you're selling on. And also, while we're on this, all of the policies I write, I add what we call an additional insured endorsement. And basically, if you have a contract, like your terms of service is your contract with Amazon. If you have a contract or terms of service with a platform that you're selling on, then they are added to your policy as an additional insured automatically. So I just do that from the very beginning. It's easier. It's covers you if you forget to let me know that now you're selling on Chewy. It covers you. So
Okay, good. Kelsey, are there any questions?
Yeah, we got some coming in. Let me just see. Okay, this is from Victor. My general business liability policy is coming up for renewal next week. Is there still time to shop for a better policy?
yeah, there really is. And I know you all are going to post the contact information for me at the end. But we have a very short, concise application on our website, and you just go in and complete the information as best you can, and as complete as you can. And then we get the quotes for you and then turn it around. And we can, in most cases, we can bind the coverage, which is really big because we're an independent insurance agency. We have binding authority with so many companies, and we can get your coverage very quickly.
Okay. I've got a question about insurance for doing business remotely. So I'm at home, like almost everybody else. I'm doing work. Do I have to I've got a home policy. For us, we set it up where there's a rider on the home policy for the business. But is there a specific way that you should have it set up in case the Amazon guy, trips, or somebody comes in and you've got a tile floor and they, do a head, what's that called? A head dive?
Yeah.
Or it might be I'm not sure. It might be dealing with a VA. So here's a question that came in from a person that works with us, contractor that we work with. They want me, I talked to you about this, they wanted me to put insurance on them in case anything happened while they were working with me, in case there was ever a lawsuit.
Well, you can't, unless they are an owner or a interested party in your LLC, your entity, then they can't be really named. They don't have an insurable interest.
Okay.
Now, they can be an employee, and as an employee or a contractor, there can be some coverage under the policy in certain situations. What I recommend is if you have, maybe you have a VA, or you have like my daughter, if she was helping me specifically with the business away at college, I would list her address on the policy as well. And the policy covers both locations. So rarely in these types of policies, it's not, you're not going to have many of the general liability claims at a second location, but you could have product liability claims, and those come from the main location. So they're covered if there's a product liability claim.
Okay,
not as far as a named insured under your policy, but as an employee or a contractor, those sorts of. It's very confusing, I know, but it's we don't name employees or contractors under your policy specifically.
Okay, so if I had a contractor working with me and they ordered a product, they ordered the product wrong. And let's just say it's wipes, okay, hand wipes. So two different types of wipes. There's a wipe for your electronic phones, then you've got a different type of chemical that goes in for hands. And the one can be very corrosive or harsher. Okay, so if you get it in your eyes, it could burn your eyes. Anyways, let's say that person ordered the wrong type of alcohol or chemical going into that, and they were a contractor working with you. So let's say that happens. Somebody says that their eyes got burnt. They sue like the company, and they sue at all. So they're going to go after the contractors, and they're going to go after. So is it better that they get their own insurance to cover that?
Yeah, we've run into this a lot, and I try to explain to the insurance companies that if you're sourcing from China, rarely will you get proof that XYZ factory in China has their own product liability coverage for their products that they are supplying to you. So, but if you're using like a U.S. manufacturer, they are going to have product liability for their. So if you're using a contractor in the United States, then what I would recommend is you are named. They probably have that blanket additional insured endorsement if they're of any size, and you could also be covered under their policy. They in turn could possibly be covered under your policy depending on who was at fault.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I do the blanket additional insured, is because you would have a contract with that, supplier. And if they made an error in their, if they made the error, then it would come under their policy. But if you click the wrong, formulation, for example, on your order, then it would come under your policy, and they would be covered under yours, and you would be covered under theirs.
Okay. Now let's go to the next question, Kels.
Okay.
This is from Barb. What else does it cover aside from liability? Does it cover loss due to it getting lost, damage, or stolen?
Okay. Good question. That is not under the liability policy. That would be a separate policy. So we place property coverage, and that's become very, very common right now with a lot of people getting the SBA loans and different, just startup loans or whatever it might be. The bank or lending institution is requiring you to have a property policy to cover your inventory. And so we write a separate policy to cover damage for lost or stolen goods. For example, if there's a fire in your self-storage unit or your home warehouse or your those sorts of situations. Now, I will say, if your products are stored in Amazon's fulfillment center, then Amazon has coverage for your products in their custody, care, and control. I know there was a fire out in California a couple of years ago at a big fulfillment center, and those products that were being fulfilled by Amazon and stored there should have been reimbursed to those individual sellers that had their products there from Amazon. But we can also cover the products, if you need an ocean cargo policy, if you're not using a freight forwarder, or you just want to get an additional price on, getting it from China or somewhere else to the States, and even from, port to a fulfillment center, we can work on that as well.
All right. Kelsey.
Okay, and actually, do we want to mention our little giveaway review that we want to talk about? Okay,
I didn't know we had one. Spring this on me. Although I was late by a couple of minutes.
All right. So, Michelle, do you want to explain what our little giveaway is today?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, unfortunately, insurance is very highly regulated by the government, and we can't just give away gifts or products. So we are very watched, which is good. It prevents us from illegal enticement, is what the term is. So all I can do is offer free reviews of your insurance policy, or if you want me to do that, and I can open that up to everyone, or however you all want to handle it. I'm always open to give an honest review. I've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't be in business if I wasn't very honest and trustworthy. I give a review of and if it's better coverage or better pricing with somebody else, I'll be the first one to admit it. So,
well, why don't we do this today? Because it's a general review, and I don't have any issue with just posting your contact information, and if people are listening today, to head over and to talk to you, because it is such an important topic, and we don't do that, we don't hear about it that often. Mm-hmm. And I think we were just going to get into the different types of insurance, but let's continue on with that. So with no giveaway today, however, we'll give Michelle's contact information so you can get a free review of your insurance. How's that, everybody?
Perfect.
Okay, Kels, where'd you go? There's another question.
I thought you were going on a tangent.
No.
Okay. All right. So from Fatiha, when launching when's the best time to get the insurance? A few days into selling or before we even start?
Well, I prefer before you even start because you can have a claim in the very first few days. But it's how risky you want to be with Amazon's requirements. So you are required to carry it and provide Amazon proof. And I will also, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but there are two different types of policies. There's a claims made and an occurrence policy, and those types of products that are the higher risk that go with the higher rated or higher risk companies are what we call a claims made policy. If you have an occurrence policy, coverage starts. That's what you're used to, like your home, your auto. That's an occurrence policy. So it starts the day you get the coverage. A claims made policy starts when you get the coverage, but you have to continuously have coverage in order to go back. And it's very complicated, but it does make a difference. The sooner you can get the coverage, especially in the higher rated categories.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And a few people had questions about, so for Marina, as a Canadian company, can I get insurance from an insurance company in the US? My insurance premium is around $20,000 because of high sales volume in the US. Premium for Canadian sales is 3 times lower than for the US.
Mm-hmm. Do you know why that is? We're very litigious in the United States. So there's a lot of the legal system brings up the insurance rates. So the other thing I do is if you are based if you have a legal entity and you're based in the United States, my policies all contain a worldwide coverage. So you can be based in the United States and it will cover you if you have a claim in anywhere in the world.
That's if you have a U.S. company.
If you have a U.S. company. If you have a non-U.S. company, I can't write the insurance because, again, of regulations. However, I do have a really good contact in Canada that I refer people to that need coverage. They write with some of the same companies we do, and they're familiar with Ecommerce. So I have that connection. And then I also have some other connections in the UK and Australia and different places that I refer out to, and vice versa. They refer to me when they need a U.S. Insurance agent. So it is less expensive outside of the United States. But in most cases, what I have run into is if you are, for example, in this one, a Canadian company, they don't cover you for your sales in the United States. It's harder because the United States is so litigious.
Right. Now, I just saw something pop up in the comments. I think I'm reading it right. The giveaway for the review, if they are international, will you just point them in the right direction to have a review from one of your... Okay, good. Yep. That's the answer.
We do that all the time. I've made some great contacts at these conferences and really feel, they're e-commerce specialists. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. For Victor, should your general liability premium be based on gross sales or on your net proceeds received from Amazon?
Yeah, the rating base is your gross sales. Yeah.
Okay.
Figure that.
Yeah, I know. You only get a quarter of that, but you pay premium on the higher amount. And that's the way it is across insurance in general. It's all based on gross sales.
Okay. From Simon, I'm pretty certain Walmart requires you to have a PL cover of at least 1 million. Is that right?
Walmart in the United States requires the minimum is 2 million. I've not seen that they require just 1 million. Their categories are 2, 5, and 10. And if you all need copies of those requirements, I'd be glad to send those to you. And you could share with the group.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from class. What about overseas sellers? Must they have insurance for USA? Also, what about USA sellers selling overseas in other marketplaces? Must we get insurance for other marketplaces?
Yeah, so two parts there. So the overseas sellers, they must yes, they must have insurance that names Amazon.com as an additional insured. And so if you have coverage in the UK, for example, you need to check to see if it covers you in the US. If not, you may need to set up a US legal entity, get coverage in the United States for your US sales. Um, and then as far as US sellers selling overseas and other marketplaces, so my policy again automatically covers you for any Amazon or any platform in any other country. So, because I do add that worldwide coverage, I also specifically add, just because it's more common, Amazon Mexico and Amazon Canada on all policies, specifically worded out. But the coverage is there for UK and any other platform.
Great.
Okay, does Amazon insurance is for the corporation or for the product?
It's for the corporation. So it's for your entity. And if you add additional products, then those products are added and covered either automatically or, again, if you're in the higher risk type categories, they have to be added specifically on the policy. It's just a little bit different. It's more upkeep on the higher rated products because those are listed as, it might be I'm doing, baby diapers and I'm doing pet supplements. We have to list those out because it's not an all-inclusive policy because of the type of products.
Okay. From Darren, can Michelle share any bad or horror stories from previous experience on not having insurance?
Oh, well, I knocking on wood here. Personally don't have any claims that I can speak of on people not having e-commerce insurance. However, there are plenty of claims scenarios out there or actual claims. The most recent, and I think one of the most compelling reasons that Amazon has started enforcing this was a claim in Pennsylvania that a lady was walking her dog, had ordered a dog collar and leash from a private label seller, third-party seller, on Amazon. The leash snapped. The dog ran. The leash snapped. Came back. I think the lady lost her eye. She named, XYZ Company and Amazon in a lawsuit. XYZ Company did not have insurance, so it all fell back on Amazon. XYZ Company, I'm sure, is no longer in existence as a result. But those things happen, unfortunately, very often. I mean, we all know that when you're you do the best you can at testing and doing different things within your products to make sure they're safe, but accidents can happen. So there are the hoverboard stories where they caught fire and somebody lost their house. Those are actual true cases that have happened. And again, I would say in 99% of those types of claims where the product's been purchased from Amazon from a third-party seller, there was no insurance. And I would venture to guess that those companies, those third-party sellers, are no longer in business, especially on Amazon. So
I get really nervous when if I were to buy any type of cosmetic or, from China. I mean, I hear things are really great, depending on the factory, but I've just heard horror stories about lipstick that that acted almost like crazy glue and,
yeah.
I mean, just crazy. And I talked about this last week, but we had a crazy horror story, for our product. And no insurance, unfortunately. This is where we learned our lesson very quickly. But we had a whole container of wipes that came in, just screen wipes. And they had a really thin microfilm to protect the product, right? To protect the alcohol from leaking out. Anyways, they were all ruined. So everything was ruined. The whole container load was ruined. We had no insurance, so we had to eat it. Yeah, a whole container load.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big loss.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it taught us that we really need inspections.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, that actually this guy, Freddie the broker, at the time, he allowed, like, we didn't know at that point what to do. And we allowed this guy to negotiate with the factory who was in his back pocket. The factory negotiated with the inspector who was in his back pocket, and then
Mm.
they sent over this inferior product that leaked this alcohol, which we had to eat the whole thing.
But had you sold those not knowing that the alcohol was missing, then you would have had you would have had so many liability claims in that at that point.
Yeah.
Girls.
And just think of this. If it was and it wasn't the wrong alcohol, like there's two different types like I was just mentioning, but if it would have been the worst one, somebody would have taken, that and washed their face or whatever. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you have to watch out, especially in topicals or ingestibles
Yes.
or, the old supplements, pets. Hey, people love their pets and they will come after you viciously.
Oh my heavens. I'm telling you, and I have 2 dogs and 2 kids, but I'm telling you, those dogs we love and the kids can so I mean people love their pets and it's kind of a running joke. We love our pets more than we do our kids. And it's in a lot of cases, people will go to the ends of the earth. Well, for either, but it's just kind of funny how people are so attached and yeah, you hurt their pet, you're out.
You're done.
You're done. Mhm.
Simon, what are you talking about? What is that shade you have on today? Are you talking about my lipstick? Yeah, it's natural.
Oh.
All right, Kels.
Okay, from Brian. Do product liability rates take into account country of manufacturers, inspections, testing after manufacturing, i.e., if you skip testing a batch, can they deny coverage?
Well, one of the things within the application process is we ask, what do you do as far as risk management? And so if it's a higher risk category, for example, again, then we're going to want to know and see maybe your labels. If it's supplements, the labels, we want to see the ingredients. We want to see the underwriters actually look at this stuff. And if it's a very high risk type product, we actually need inspection reports, those sorts of things from the manufacturer that basically says that it's safe. And hopefully that's the case. So it's not so much that if you skip testing a batch, they don't necessarily deny coverage, but you are really supposed to be doing those things, and that's part of the insurance contract that you will provide a safe product, and that's part of that process.
Yeah, and if you do have these types of products too, you'd have your lab test as well as your inspection. Yeah.
Your independent inspections. And I will also say that we have several carriers that will not write it if it's a Chinese manufacturer product. Flat, don't write it, period. And even mine. And I have, paper banners, happy birthday banners and such. They won't write it. If it's a Chinese manufacturer. So.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I will also say that, this coverage doesn't just apply to private label. It applies to your wholesale, any type of anything you're selling, whether it's you're doing RA, OA, wholesale, whatever. This coverage follows you for all of those. It's a much lower rate per 100 of sales if it's not your private label brand. So if you're selling Hanes t-shirts in addition to your garlic press that you private label, then the sales on the Hanes side is, a tenth of the rate. The premium is maybe a tenth of the rate. It's much reduced because you're not the manufacturer in that case. You are the manufacturer on the garlic press if it's private label, but you're not if you're doing it as a wholesale or a RA, OA type product.
But you should have some sort of rider on that anyways, right? So
Yeah.
again, if they sue at all, you're going to get nailed.
Mm-hmm. You would
I
get nailed.
think.
You would get nailed less than Haynes would in that
Right.
example. So you still have an exposure. It's just reduced quite a
Right.
bit because there's that risk transfer in place back up that ladder to Haynes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple more questions for Marcia. Is there a type of insurance that covers lost business revenue while delisting disputes with Amazon's as they're being solved or resolved?
Well, that was around for a little while, and we wrote that with 3 different companies, and just wrote it, and then they quit writing it. Right, found another carrier, they quit writing it. It was called suspension insurance, and it is no longer. We can't find that coverage. I actually have a couple of colleagues in the States that do the same type of coverage. Competitors, I guess you would say, even, and they have come to me because they lost their suspension companies as well, and no one is writing that. It was similar to a business income or business interruption type coverage that most businesses have. If it's like a brick and mortar store, maybe an appliance store, and they have a fire, they're down for 6 months until they get rebuilt and re-inventoried. You have a lost income there because you're not making those sales. But there's nothing as far as nothing there is covered because there's no insurable loss. Being suspended by insurance is not it does not constitute a claim.
So Lloyd's isn't covering that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
No.
that is too bad.
No, we had some coverage with Lloyd's. We had it with, oh gosh, a couple of other carriers, and they were short termers. They thought they could get in and do it, but there really was no insurable loss because a suspension is not an insurable loss. You have to have a fire or a libel, slander, windstorm, and a vehicle accident. There was no claim.
So Amazon being idiots for just removing or suspending your listing for no reason whatsoever is okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just say, make sure you have a good contact for those reinstatements. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah. And you know what? Just going down a different path right now. A lot of people talk to me about they had either suspension, they can't figure it out. Look, I can help you out, but the real place to go is to the people that can do this, and they do it day in and day out.
Right.
If you've got some Amazon consultant, or if you've got a coach, or we deal with it on an unregular basis. It doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And the people that deal with this or know the ins and outs, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
But is it worth having be suspended for, a week, a month? Like I know some people on this call that have been suspended for over a month, and they have incredibly high selling products, and Amazon's taken them off the listing for something stupid, that doesn't even pertain to their product. But
Right.
Anyways, I would highly recommend, depending on your sales volume, making sure that you seek out an expert. You can try to do it yourself. You might be lucky and you might get relisted right away, and good luck. And that would be the optimum. But most of the time, I see it takes weeks. It could even get into over a month.
Right.
So just on a completely different subject.
A lot of stress and worry, but the insurance in that regard is really having that connection with somebody that does it on a daily basis. So,
what mistakes do people make when they're going out and getting insurance?
Well, there's several. One is not finding somebody that knows what they're doing. That's the big one. State Farms, your Allstates, Farm Bureaus, Geico, none of those, Progressive. They don't do e-commerce sales. Even some of the standard companies that we write with won't do it in certain situations, like if it's a Chinese product, for example. So really, one of the slides I use in some of my presentations is make sure that you have an agent that knows e-commerce, because it is so much different. And that's where I think not to toot my own horn, but I come into play because I am a seller and I know the terminology. I know, how to not work the system, but I know where your insurance, I'll go to bat if I think, a preferred company can write this. So I will work on your behalf as hard as I can to get you the best rates. And it's because I also am, I'm friends with so many sellers, and I have such, I think a good reputation out there. And this is a passion for me. I really think so. So that's one of the main things, and also just to make sure that you don't underestimate your sales, because it'll come back and bite you at the end of the year when they audit you.
What would happen? So let's say that you had $1 million in sales, and you said that you had $250,000.
Yeah, at the end of the year, you're going to get a big bill, and then they're going to bill you for the $750,000 that you underestimated, and it may just be a legitimate, true miscalculation. You just went gangbusters and really did much better than you thought,
or not.
Yeah. And then you would also then get a double whammy, because if you have a big audit like that, they're going to endorse the renewed policy with that higher sales volume, because they're expecting it to grow and continue. And then you're going to have additional premium due as a result of that. So
they're going to increase your premium because you were untruthful.
Well, it's all, an audit is really just to shore you back to what you actually had as far as sales. So it's just, you either pay it along the way or up front, or you pay it at the end, and then you have an increase because of the increased sales going forward.
Okay. Before we go ahead.
I was just going to say it's communication with your agent is great. If you see that you're going, trending very high on your sales, more than estimated, then just shoot me an email and I adjust it, and then they kind of spread it out for you so you don't get hit all at once.
All right. Before we there's a few questions there, I know, but other types of insurance, you can have cargo insurance, you can have a variety of other types of insurance, just if you want it to be really widespread and completely covered. If you have a very low risk tolerance, what are the other types of insurance an e-com seller could look at?
Okay. Well, we've already talked about liability, but you can always add that extra layer with an umbrella and give you, an additional protection. And that there again, I help guide you in knowing what level is appropriate for you. If you have low asset or low net worth, then, the 1 million is probably fine. But if you have a higher net worth, and you're worth more, and have, deeper pockets, then you might want to carry a higher umbrella. So an umbrella is important. Workers' comp, if you have employees that are working for you, then you, in most states, are required to carry workers' comp coverage for them if they are hurt on the job. And that, you might have delivery people, you might have, clerical. So there are different rates for different types of jobs, I guess. Of course, the property we talked about, and that becomes very important if you're trying to get one of those loans to help your business either get going or expand. Auto, if you have a vehicle in the company name, then your personal auto policy does not cover it. So we can always add auto insurance to your package of offerings. The ocean cargo, the inland marine, where you or the coverage for maybe coming from a port to a fulfillment center, or your own warehouse to a fulfillment center. We can cover that with different. We can really, if you have a risk or a worry of a claim, then we can find the coverage for you. We write with a tremendous number of companies. We're licensed in 40 plus states. We add them as we've needed to. So we are pretty widespread in that instance. We do have 3 offices, but most all the e-commerce is out of our main office here. So we have in our staff, we actually have 2 other sellers at our office. So there are 3 of us that are e-commerce sellers. So we have some pretty good knowledge as far as e-commerce goes.
I don't know about the U.S. I do know in Canada, the car insurance is so overlooked. A buddy of mine got into a car accident, and he said it was a personal accident. And the issue was he was transporting some products over to some place, and I think it was over to UPS or something. Anyways, because they felt it was a business issue, that they denied him his claim.
Absolutely.
And and I mean, it's really serious. The amount that you can, like, to get the business protection onto a vehicle, it's more expensive. But at the end of the day, if you're using your car back and forth, I'd rather that's personally, I just rather have that safety. I don't go out of the house much, but it's on the car.
Right. Well, and we can do a coverage instead of doing, even if your vehicle is like titled in your personal name, we can add under the business what we call hired and non-owned auto coverage. And in that instance, all he would have needed was a business policy non-owned auto liability. And that would have been because the vehicle would have been titled in his personal name, not his business. So and that's a much lower rate. It's a very common coverage, and it's, $150 a year. It's cheap, very cheap for just the liability coverage on any non-owned business autos.
Right.
So that can be
Kelsey, do we have a couple more questions?
Yep, and we are it's 1:05 right now, just to let everyone know. So maybe we can just do a couple more.
Yeah.
And let's see. So for Marina, how much would the rate be affected if we include the coverage for companies that resell our products?
Normally you wouldn't do that. I don't know why you would want to cover them, because if there's a claim, it's going to come back to you anyway. But I don't know why you would want to cover that.
They'd probably reach out to you to make sure that you're covered
under theirs.
Yeah.
Right. I think it goes the other way.
Yeah, I think so.
Simon, what about loss from pandemic? Will interruptions cover this?
No, unfortunately, no. And that's not just e-commerce. That's across the board.
Is that considered act of God?
No, it's just not. Pandemics, viruses, those sorts of things, unfortunately, are exclusions under the policies. And even like restaurants that are shut down, they lost income or have gone out of business as a result, there's no coverage for that. It's not a covered loss.
Well, soon there'll be pandemic insurance, I'm sure.
Yeah, there will be. It will cost a fortune, but yeah.
Okay, I think we have 2 more from Simon. Apart from PL, would you recommend we have a marine cover to protect inventory in 3PLs and FBA and in transit?
Okay, 3PLs, sometimes they are covering it. You need to look at your lease and talk to them. They sometimes are covering it just as Amazon would in their care, custody, and control. So it depends on your lease. FBA, again, if it's in a fulfillment warehouse, then Amazon is responsible for it if there's a fire, windstorm, those sorts of things. And in transit, and there again, it depends. If you're using UPS or somebody like that, or even a common carrier, it depends on your contract and whether they cover your products in their vehicle. If not, we can do that. So.
And last one from Simon. Due to all ambulance chasers in the U.S., can you extend legal coverage to ensure that you get the best representation if needed?
As far as legal the lawyers who represent you, I guess is what that question is. Most all insurance companies have their own counsel that they use, and it might be for it might be an auto claim versus a product liability claim, and they have specialized counsel that they have on your behalf. If you do have somebody you would like to use, if that's what this question is, then a lot of times we can request certain counsel to be added to your account or to your claim, and they can help with that. But the companies, because they provide that coverage, also provide the specialist to defend you and them.
Okay. All right.
That's
I think that's everything.
Man, you got through them all, Michelle. Just like that.
Rushed it at the end there. I was trying to. If anybody has any others, they can always shoot me questions. I'm very open. This is, again, I love this. This is what I love to do and help people.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can go to our website, and it's very easy. It's just emford.com. My email address is there. There's an e-commerce division button there. If you want to get a quote, there's our website. You can shoot me an email at mlove@emford.com. I'm on Facebook. Apparently I'm getting ready to get on Clubhouse. Thanks, Kelsey.
No problem.
And, you can message me on Facebook. I'm very accessible, even to where my cell phone is out I give my cell phone out, and I try to answer all questions very promptly. But again, it's coming. Amazon is cracking down. The others have done it for a while. And if you haven't received your notice, I believe they're starting with smaller sellers and working up just to kind of not be rushed with everything at once. But it's coming, and you're going to need the coverage to fulfill the requirements within Amazon, even though you've needed it for your own protection for a long time. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
No problem. It's a topic that is so important, and I really don't hear a lot of people talking about. But
not a fun topic, but
it's not a great topic. It's not a sexy topic, but if you're out there and you are a newer seller, or you just don't have insurance, just call. There's no harm in talking and getting an opinion, because you just never know. You might be that guy, my buddy, who was just driving packages and his claim got denied. It could be a lot more serious, but just spend a few minutes and get some advice. Again, like I say this every podcast, I don't make affiliates. I'm just trying to pass on, the right people to the sellers. So anyways, thank you, Michelle, for coming on.
Thanks
and, hopefully you can come back sometime.
Yeah, anytime. This is what I love to do, is educate and help people. So anytime.
And we'll get you on the Clubhouse room.
Okay.
We will see you later.
Okay. Thanks, Norm and Kelsey.
Bye. All right, Kelsey, where are you?
All right.
Okay. So that was good. That was really there's tons of information there.
Yeah. That was jam-packed full of great information, and I think it's something that's really needed. And so happy to have Michelle on, and hopefully she can come back soon. We do have our Clubhouse today at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you can search Rise of the Microbrands. It's not called Lunch with Norm. Rise of the Microbrands is what you can search for. I also have the link here. I'll post that.
Yeah. And some news that I haven't even told Kelsey about on the weekend, because Kelsey was out partying all weekend and he doesn't, call his dad at all. Anyways, we created 2 clubs. We got 2 clubs now going on Clubhouse, and this 1:30 slot will be a room in one of the clubs. So we've got Ecommerce Club and Amazon Domination Club. and we'll be opening up the rooms and doing it that way. We're going to invite everybody. If you want to take part in it, just follow one of those 2 clubs, and we'll get started with that really soon. We hope to get everything up, running, regular rooms on all sorts of topics, from content to external traffic to sourcing, logistics, but they'll be all covered there over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so next week, or I should say Wednesday, we've got the founder of Beast Gear, Ben Leonard, on the podcast, and he grew his business from 7 figures and sold it after 3 years, I believe. Ben's going to be talking about different email strategies, another topic that we don't talk a lot about, but can really help out your digital sales. So join us then, and I think that's it. So join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern time. Join us over at our clubhouse room at 1:30 today. And thank you for joining. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for being part of the community, and enjoy the rest of your day. Lunch with the